In early 2020, the world embarked on an unplanned large-scale experiment. Millions of people packed up their desks, left their offices, and started working from home. This sudden shift was not just a change in location, it was a fundamental change in how work was performed, and more importantly, how it was perceived. The moment this global migration to home offices began, a fascinating split occurred. Some jobs continued to produce clear, measurable value without interruption. Code was still written, sales were still closed, reports were still delivered. It turned out that for many roles, the physical office was merely a container, not a catalyst for productivity. For another group of workers, however, something strange happened. When the office disappeared, their work seemed to evaporate along with it. Their days, once filled with back-to-back meetings and constant check-ins, suddenly felt empty. The flurry of activity that had defined their professional lives was revealed to be little more than performance. The constant motion, the visible busyness, the strategic presence in meetings, all of this was part of an elaborate theater. Without the stage of the office, their roles looked a lot less like productive work, and a lot more like a series of rituals designed to signal importance and contribution, rather than actually creating it. This divide exposed a truth that many had suspected, but few had voiced. The modern office was not just a place for work, it was a stage for performing work. The illusion of productivity was maintained through a complex system of social cues, visibility rituals, and managerial oversight. Being seen at your desk early in the morning or late at night was often mistaken for dedication. A calendar packed with meetings was seen as a sign of importance. In this environment, presence became a proxy for performance, and visibility was often confused with value. The mass shift to remote work stripped away this theatrical layer, leaving only the work itself. The core argument of this essay is simple. Remote work did not invent the concept of fake productivity. Instead, it acted as an accelerant, a powerful solvent that dissolved the elaborate structures that had long disguised a lack of real output. For decades, many roles survived and even thrived not on the value they created but on the visibility they maintained. The office provided the perfect backdrop for this performance. When that backdrop was removed, the distinction between genuine contribution and mere presentational labor became painfully and sometimes uncomfortably clear. This wasn't a failure of remote work. It was a revelation about the nature of office work itself. To understand this phenomenon, we must first reframe how we think about productivity. For too long, we have equated activity with accomplishment. The output side easily weighs the other down. We have been conditioned to believe that a busy employee is a productive employee. Our journey will begin by dissecting this assumption. We will explore the office not as a hub of collaboration, but as a theatrical stage where employees perform the role of a good worker. We will examine the rituals that define this performance, from the strategic timing of arrivals and departures to the carefully curated display of busyness on an open-plan floor. These are the subtle cues that signal competence and commitment. Next, we will look at concrete examples that bring this theater to life. Think of the manager whose primary function seems to be attending meetings. Think of a human router shuffling information from one group to another without adding new value. Consider the analyst who is praised for being the last to leave the office, even if their actual output is no better than colleagues who leave on time. By contrasting visibility-based roles with those that produce tangible, location-independent results, we can start to see why the shift to remote work was so disruptive. It wasn't just about technology, it was about transparency. From these examples, we will identify broader categories of work exposed by the remote era. Roles that depend entirely on visibility. The theater of constant coordination meetings. The pervasive culture of managerial oversight that prioritizes being in the loop over achieving results. This includes symbolic office rituals, swipe cards, corner offices, which reinforced hierarchy based on presence, not performance. We will also show why deep, focused work became more obviously valuable once the office noise was gone. Finally, we will examine systemic reasons for this performance, why companies built and sustained fake productivity for so long. We will delve into management resistance to change, driven by fear of losing control and an inability to measure what truly matters. We will uncover how promotion systems and corporate culture often reward office theater stars, not the most effective contributors. Our conclusion offers an honest assessment of hybrid work, a fundamental shift from trusting what we see to measuring what is actually accomplished. Before the great remote work experiment, the office was more than a place for tasks. It was a carefully constructed stage, and every employee an actor in a long-running play about productivity. The script was unwritten, but everyone knew their lines. The performance began the moment you walked through the door. Arriving early signaled eagerness. Leaving late signaled commitment. Being at your desk under fluorescent lights became proof you contributed. Quality took a back seat to visible effort. The daily performance followed unspoken rituals. Lunch at your desk. The hallway check-in with a manager. Even your walk through the office mattered. A brisk, purposeful stride suggested focus. A slow meander suggested idleness. These behaviors were learned by watching others' subtle cues that separated perceived high performers. The modern office was not designed by accident. Its physical layout was often a deliberate exercise in maximizing visibility. The rise of the open-plan office was sold as collaboration and transparency. In reality, it created a panopticon, a space where everyone was perpetually visible, especially to management. There was nowhere to hide. Being watched became a natural part of working. Your screen was visible to passers-by. Your conversations were overheard. Your mere presence at a workstation signaled you were working. That produced behaviors meant to project constant productivity. Multiple windows stayed open. Quick switches hid non-work. A strategically placed notebook and pen suggested readiness. The sound of typing became a soundtrack for diligence. Whether it was a report or an off-message email didn't matter. The office turned every desk into a stage to prove value. Glass meeting room walls, low desk partitions, managerial offices in the center. These features reinforced a hierarchy of observation. Employees perform for bosses. They also perform for peers. Low-level social pressure kept everyone acting. Architecture became a management tool to make work legible and to maintain the appearance of work. Section 3. The currency of presence. In the office ecosystem, time and presence were not just measures. They were a form of currency. Your value as an employee was often calculated based on the hours you were physically present in the building. This created a straightforward, if deeply flawed, equation: more time in the office equals more value to the company. This logic was simple for managers to understand and easy to enforce. It required no complex analysis of actual output or impact. All a manager had to do was look around the office at 5:30 p.m. to see who was committed and who was not. Presence became a lazy proxy for performance. Section 1. The visibility trap. The core of the issue lies in a simple cognitive bias. Human beings are wired to trust what they can see. In a professional context, this becomes, visible activity must equal valuable work. This is the visibility trap. It's the reason a manager might feel more confident in an employee they see typing furiously than one who spends an hour quietly thinking with their eyes closed, even if the latter produces a game-changing idea. The office environment feeds this bias. People at desks, animated conversations in hallways, crowded meeting rooms. Those visible signals create the comforting illusion of progress. This trap causes organizations to mistake signals for substance. A sales representative who spends their day making dozens of calls and sending hundreds of emails looks incredibly busy. Their activity is visible and easy to track. But what if those calls are low quality and the emails are generic templates? Contrast another salesperson who makes only a few highly researched, strategic calls. Those calls lead to major accounts. Split screen. high visibility versus high value. Visible activity is lower, but their value is exponentially higher. In an office that prizes busyness, the first employee is praised for their hustle, while the second might be questioned for their quiet periods. A classic case of valuing performance over the result. The visibility trap is especially potent when work is complex or hard to measure. For roles like strategy, design, or research, the most valuable moments are often invisible. They happen during deep thought, quiet contemplation, slow, iterative problem solving. These activities don't look like work in the traditional industrial sense. They don't involve the rhythmic clatter of a keyboard or the buzz of constant communication. Because managers can't easily see or quantify this deep work, they fall back on what they can see: attendance, meeting participation, and responsiveness to emails. This inevitably leads to a culture that rewards performance over progress. When work moved home, the entire system was short-circuited. The visible signals vanished overnight. Managers could no longer gauge productivity by walking the floor. They were forced to confront a new reality. Only the final output mattered. Did the report get delivered? Was the code functional? Was the client happy? The absence of the physical office forced a shift from judging process to evaluating outcome. For many, this was a jarring transition. It revealed they'd been caught in the visibility trap for years, mistaking the shadow of work for the substance of it. Section 2. The illusion of control. For many managers, the rituals of office visibility were not just about measuring productivity. They were about maintaining a sense of control. The constant stream of meetings, check-ins, status updates served a dual purpose. On the surface, they were about alignment and information sharing, but underneath, they were a mechanism for reassurance. A manager with a calendar full of check-ins feels informed, involved, and in command. They can see the moving parts of their team, and this visibility gives them the comforting illusion that they are steering the ship effectively. This is the theater of managerial oversight. This performance is often enabled by tools that prioritize presentation over substance. Think of the ubiquitous dashboard with its colorful charts and graphs tracking activity metrics. A green dashboard showing high email volume or a large number of completed tasks can make a manager feel successful, even if those activities are not driving key business results. These tools can become a form of presentational labor in themselves. Teams spend valuable time feeding data into systems not to improve their work, but to create an attractive report for their superiors. The dashboard becomes the goal, rather than the progress it is supposed to represent. Section 3. The quiet work that matters. In stark contrast to the loud performance of visibility, there is the quiet, often invisible work that generates real value. This is the work of deep focus, careful planning, thoughtful creation. It is the developer writing elegant code, the writer crafting a compelling narrative, the strategist connecting disparate ideas into a coherent plan. This type of work flourishes in environments free from constant interruption and the pressure to perform busyness. The office, with its open plan layouts and relentless meeting culture, is often a hostile environment for this kind of focused effort. It prioritizes the appearance of collaboration over the substance of individual contribution. Asynchronous work is a prime example of this quiet productivity. It doesn't require everyone to be in the same place at the same time. It relies on clear documentation, thoughtful handoffs, trust between colleagues. An engineer in California writes code and leaves detailed notes for a colleague in Poland. The process is incredibly efficient and respects individual focus time, but it is almost completely invisible. No meetings to observe, no bustling rooms to admire. Its success is measured only by the final product, which threatens management cultures that equate visibility with value. The great remote work experiment of the 2020s did not break our organizations. It held up a mirror to them. It revealed what many of us had long suspected, that the modern office was as much a stage for the performance of work as it was a place for its execution. The core argument we have explored is that remote work did not create fake productivity, but rather stripped away the theatrical layers that had long disguised it. By removing the physical stage, the props of the open-plan office, the audience of ever-present managers, the distinction between genuine contribution and presentational labor became impossible to ignore. The curtain fell, and the mechanics of the show were laid bare for all to see. We saw how the office itself was designed to reward visibility, turning presence into a currency and activity into a proxy for achievement. This created a system where employees were incentivized to perform the role of a good worker, arriving early, staying late, filling their calendars with meetings. We categorized the types of work this environment enabled: visibility-dependent roles with no clear output, the endless theater of coordination meetings, rituals of status symbolized by corner offices and executive perks. The resistance from companies was not a rejection of efficiency, but a defense of a familiar system of control and a hierarchy built on the comfortable, if misleading, metric of physical presence. The future of work, therefore, is not a simple choice between the office and the home. The likely destination for most is a hybrid model, but implementing it successfully requires us to learn the lessons from this great unmasking. A return to the office without fundamental change is a return to the theater. Instead, organizations must embark on the difficult but necessary work of rethinking how they measure value. This begins with establishing clearer, outcome-oriented metrics for every role, shifting the focus from inputs, like hours worked, to the actual impact an employee has. It demands a new kind of manager, one who leads with trust, not surveillance, and who is skilled at fostering productivity in a distributed team. This transition also requires a conscious effort to dismantle the rituals of fake productivity. It means embracing asynchronous practices to reduce the reliance on status-driven meetings. It involves reskilling managers to evaluate complex knowledge work based on its quality, not on the visibility of the effort. Ultimately, the pandemic forced a global reckoning with the nature of work itself. We now have a choice. We can either rebuild the stage and pretend the performance is real, or we can finally start valuing the quiet, often invisible, work that truly matters. The challenge is to remember the difference between being seen to work and the simple, unadorned act of getting the work done.